A lot of what I focus on is courageous leadership. And I have a quote that sits over my desk. It's a quote by Mark Twain that says, "True courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of it." So if you think about my trajectory, personal and professional, I've never actually known what's around the corner. Like everything is new. I didn't know anyone who went to college. I didn't know anyone who had a corporate career. I definitely didn't know anyone that was at the ranking that I'm at and on the climb that I am. So everything to me is always, there's always fear involved. Like I don't know, I hope this works out. But I've also led really big pieces of work and taken some risks in my career that could have been detrimental, like going and starting a multicultural marketing function at a time where that wasn't really popular. It's a little different now, but when I was starting off, that wasn't like the popular thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, and being courageous in that, and being courageous in those moments where it is uncomfortable to take a stand in a meeting to say, hey, I don't think our diverse consumers are going to buy that. I think we need to think about the advertising a completely different way. By the way, we need to diversify our casting. We don't have enough agencies on the roster right now that really represent the consumer that we're talking to. It is hard to do those things, and it could be a career killer for a lot of people. But I think I have stood in courageous leadership when it was the right thing to do for the business and the right thing to do for our consumers. And I think it served me well over the course of time.
Well, just the way you just described it right now, you obviously, it's a business case. There's a reason, why it's better for the company. But you are a values-based leader. Like it is the drumbeat that everybody who knows you talks about. What do you think are those sort of core values that when you're not in the room, that people say about you?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it is one, just incredible kindness. I am a very empathetic leader. I really care about my teams and my organization. And just like at this point in my career, if my organization, if they're good, then I'm good. Like
Yeah.
if they're in a good place and they're in a healthy place, then I'm doing what I need to do, because my job now really is to invest in people coming up and to make sure I'm setting them up for success. And I tell my team this, my job is to make sure they're having the best career experiences of their lives while under me in my organization.
Well, I mean, you went to Meta, formerly Facebook. You went to that organization right at the beginning of the pandemic. Like that's hard to do, to build a thriving team when people are in absolute crisis, health and otherwise.
Yeah, it was really interesting because I didn't know, and the team, it's been a lesson in a turnaround, because the team that I had gotten, and I didn't know this while I was interviewing, was not in a healthy place. So it was a turnaround situation, which for me was a great experience from a leadership perspective, because I'd never had a turnaround team. But I follow our organizational scores. It's night and day. We're up double digits on every metric. The team is in a very healthy place. Every time there's an open role in my organization, I have a line of people wanting to get on the team. And I pride myself in that. For me, that's what success looks like. And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, well, you should be. And you mentioned earlier mentorship. It sounds to me like you've been a mentor to so many people yourself. But what is the importance of mentorship, like maybe in your life, and how do you pay that forward?
Look, I'm a Puerto Rican girl from the South Bronx who didn't have anything. And so you have to think the number of people that took a bet on me. I like to tell people, you meet me now, I'm like very polished and poised and articulate. When I came to boarding school, fresh out of the Bronx, at 14, it was the first time I had spoken to a white person my own age in the 9th grade. I had never spoken to a white person my own age until I was 14 years old. So you have to imagine the little girl that shows up at high school. I have this thick urban accent. I have on urban clothing. I'm like this kid out of the Bronx, incredibly bright. But there was a lot that I needed to grow into, to understand how to navigate this world. It was a world that was very different from the one I was in. And the amount of teachers, coaches, professionals, so many people have mentored me, a number of CMOs in the industry to this day. I can text them right now that have taken an interest in my career. Even how I got on a board was through a relationship with someone who was a mentor of mine. And so I take that very seriously, but I also invest it back. So everything I get, I give back tenfold. I block my calendar Friday mornings. I spend that time. My admin already knows that is my time to be on the phone with young talent, women. Like she knows, just slot me with different people already as 30 minutes. And I just rotate every Friday morning with who I'm talking to make sure I'm investing in them.
And when you do that, is it, I'm all about Puerto Rican women having that, that mentoring, or are you kind of, what would you say is sort of who you like to mentor the most?
It's across the board. I mean, if it was just Puerto Rican women, it would be like 3 people, honestly. So that's not, but a lot of women and a lot of people of color, because I found I struggled a lot early on to find mentors. And those are the people often that need the most support.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, so I'm a white woman, but I'm married to a Mexican and I have a Latina daughter, and she is a violinist. She went to Oberlin. She's very smart and very buttoned up. And I'm the big energy one in some ways. And some 60-year-old white guy came up to her. She works at Uber, and came up to her and said, "Oh, you're the hot-headed Latina." And she came home and she's like, "Mommy, this creepy guy just said this thing." And it's like, who does that to young women? Who puts that out there? And when you're 24 years old, what do you say in those moments, right? What kind of advice are you giving to young people that have these microaggressions and experiences? Like, how do they pivot the power play there?
No, it's really challenging. And I went through a lot of that. I mean, I continue, to be honest, I continue to go through that. I don't know that goes away. It's on a different scale and a different level. And it's difficult, I think, when you're young and still nervous about navigating the workplace and finding your voice, right? It takes a little bit of time to find your voice. So I have a lot of empathy, but I think, you have a voice. You have a voice. And I think it's important that you leverage that and educate people appropriately. Why don't say more? What do you mean by that? Ask some probing questions, because people, it won't happen again. I promise you that if you start asking some probing questions.
All right, good. So ask questions that sort of help people find for themselves that that was an inappropriate comment or question is one way. If you were to say sort of to my daughter and the other young women who are hearing this podcast today, so what are some of the life lessons that you'd want to share with them? What do you want them to know? I've heard you say courage. I've heard you talk a bit about being your authentic self and making sure you can lean into your whole person. What are the other things that you want them to know?
I think a big one for me, and it's been really interesting for me now being in a leadership position and seeing this, and also coaching women that report to me, is asking for what you want. And there's a quote by Oprah that says, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for."
Love it.
And I have had men and women report to me, and the way that an overqualified woman asks me for a promotion versus a man, it's just so different. I had someone once ask me who wanted to be considered for a promotion, and she was almost apologetic in the delivery of the conversation. This is someone that I had given stellar reviews, was my second in command. Like if I was out on vacation, this was the point of, it was someone who knew that I thought very highly of her. And so the apologetic tone that she took with asking me for a promotion, I had to stop her before she even finished about how she was asking me for the promotion and give her some on the spot coaching.
It's like, ground in your power and strength and all the things we know are great, and ask me again.
I'm like, we're gonna rewind, because this is not how you ask. And I'm glad that it's me, and we have a relationship built on trust. But if it was a different manager, that conversation could have gone very differently.